This is a game called Chase the Chuckwagon for the Atari 2600, released all the way back in 1983, making it a pretty early example of a licensed game. Now what was it a license for, you may ask? Something major, surely. Not particularly. This game was commissioned by Purina, based off this advert, and you got it through mail order when you bought their dog food. Yes, there did exist a game that's purpose was purely to promote dog food. What more can you say? And what on earth does it have to do with the letter Y? Well, not much I suppose, but then there's very little interesting to cover in this letter, and seeing as how there's only 2 letters left, I thought I would mop up some games I didn't quite get around to, most of which just, well, they boggle the mind. Most licensed games are easy enough to get the existence of, but these? No. Let's kick things right off with something that does begin with the letter Y and features food that's actually fit for human consumption. Sort of anyway. Yo-Noid is a NES game based off the mascot for Dominos Pizza. It's got the Capcom name on it as well, which might make you think that it'd be good. However, it's just kind of odd. First off, as someone who isn't exactly familiar with the Dominos mascot, he's fucking horrible looking. I mean, I get the kin, the 7-Up spot, I even get Colin frickin' Curly, but this? No. He looks like a disgraced entertainer in a cheap-ass costume. And then the first level's at sea for no real reason. I mean, sea? Really? I wouldn't have thought that the sea would be the first thing Domino's would want to remind you of. I mean, if you're anything like me, being at sea means being really goddamn sick. However, these are the guys who made a pizza filled with frickin' Oreos, so, you know, I wouldn't exactly trust their taste. So yeah, this game don't really appeal. Not one of Capcom's finest hours, although it's hardly the worst we'll see in this vid. So anyway, if you want to look for odd licensed games, where's the best place to go? British home computers, as we've already seen, do make for a good port of call. I've already covered 2 games based on soap operas, an EastEnders one that was a shitty collection of minigames, and a Neighbours one where you rode bikes around Ramsey Street. Care for a hat trick? How about a graphic text adventure based on Dallas? I mean, Christ, did some actual budget go into this? Why? Dallas was obviously everywhere at the time, but was the demand for a game so desperate? Maybe this is understandable after all. Less understandable is a game based on Yes Prime Minister, a classic British comedy show. Now this isn't really a text adventure as such, it's more a test of your political nous through various questions and scenarios. The writing, oddly enough, is pretty faithful to the show. Hell, I even quite like this game, if only because the original programme is one of my favourite comedies ever, but yeah, I don't see how such a thing could ever have been successful. C64 and Spectrum games are basically a gimme. You'll find weirdness on there just about everywhere you look. It was the early days of licensed gaming, and people didn't really know what to do with it yet. So here's another one. Cast your mind back to Pepsi Man from a few vids ago. I mean, this would certainly fit in here if I hadn't already covered it. You may wonder, is this the only Pepsi-related game out there? And the answer is no. Here's Pepsi Invaders for the Atari 2600 in 1983. It's not much to write home about, a simple Space Invaders clone where you shoot the word Pepsi. But there is one big but. Check the top left of the screen. This wasn't commissioned by Pepsi. It was commissioned by Coca-Cola. The full title is Pepsi Invaders, Coke Wins, and you're defending Coke from the evil Pepsi horde. I ask you, can you imagine a game like this being made today? Wouldn't it result in, like, thousands of lawsuits? And isn't this basically free advertising for your competitor? Pepsi's more prominent than Coke is, that's for sure. Yeah, who knows what went through the heads of these people. Another console that bred weird licensed games, oddly enough, was the Super Nintendo. You would think people would have learned by the 16-bit era, but, well, this was not the case. So, whoever wanted to see a game based off Home Improvement? You know, the intolerably shit comedy starring Tim fucking Allen? In game form? Featuring a plot where you have to look for tools on massive, worryingly realistic sound stages? Any thoughts, Pat Patterson?
Nobody!
Exactly. Jesus, what's next? A version of Tapper based on Cheers? An RPG on Saved by the Bell? A beat-em-up that stars Bebby's kids? Ah, wait. Yeah. Beby's Kids. A long-forgotten film and now a much-hated game. Well, it certainly lived up to expectations. 3-second music loops, enemies that take ages to beat, the worst drawn graphics I have ever seen. I think this might possibly be the single most pathetic excuse for a beat-em-up I have ever played in my whole goddamn life. The guy who made Crazy Bus could have probably done a better job. And that's just stuff that was brought kicking and screaming into the world at large. There's plenty of other stuff we never saw at all. There was almost a game based around arm-snapping master cook and creepy-ass martial arts fraud Steven Seagal. It would have been called Steven Seagal is the Final Option, and it would be digitised. You would control the actual, real, living, breathing Steven Seagal, punching, kicking and shooting his way through all manner of goons. However, it was never finished, for unknown reasons. A prototype of the game does exist, and playing it? Yeah, it's not exactly a big loss. But this shit ain't nothing compared to Socks the Cat Walks the Hill. This one might take the cake. A game where you play as Bill Clinton's cat, and you have to warn the government about an incoming nuclear missile strike. Seriously, you know, fuck SDI, fuck NORAD, the buck stops with Socks the Cat, the last line of defence. Anyway, the game was scuppered due to Nintendo being a bit queasy about releasing politically controversial games, if you can believe that. A cartridge does exist but is yet to be dumped. This is all the actual footage you'll find. Shame it never came out. I mean, can you imagine if Navigator reviewed the game? It'd probably just be 2 minutes of him masturbating. Period, the end. And last up is a game that would have featured in the wrestling list, if it had been a wrestling game, but it is based around wrestling. WWE Crush Hour. Speaking of masturbatory fantasies, Crush Hour takes you to a world where Vincent Kennedy McMahon Jr. controls all television. Turns out the WWE Network obviously wasn't such a bad idea after all. And his latest big show is a demolition derby featuring big wheels and even bigger WWE superstars. All your favourites are here. Stone Cold, The Rock, Trish Stratus, Rob Van Dam. Oh, and this guy, I don't know who that is. Anyway, the game is basically a cheapo take on car combat with the WWE license chucked in. It's utterly ridiculous and you might just convince yourself for a few minutes that it's fun, but really, it's not great. Ultimately you end up thinking, if I wanted to play Twisted Metal so badly, I'll just go ahead and play Twisted Metal. Yeah. Like a lot of these games, once you get over the stupidity of the license, there ain't a whole lot to say that's good. So don't say anything at all. Oh, except that the game's a pile of shite. And so ends another video, and would you believe it, there's just one more to go. The letter Z will feature one solitary game, but I'm not going to tell you what it is yet. It's going to be more like, you know, a finale, a swan song, the vid where we sum up everything and ask ourselves just what we've learned over the past God knows how many videos. So yeah, next time the A to Z finally comes to an end. Until then, thanks for watching, and wherever you are, whoever you be, have a good one, take care, and I'll see you next time.